After finishing work on the Games Workshop Battle Sisters Exorcist Battle Tank, decided I'm going to continue along that vein, but step out of brand. What I've got are some of the Sisters of Eternal Mercy from Raging Heroes that I picked up off eBay. As you can tell, just by looking at the pictures, these are heavily based on the Sisters of Battle, although made in such a way that they don't run into copyright violations from Games Workshop. Each of these is it's multi-piece resin kits. I'm probably not going to build all of them from each set, just a select few. But I've looked at the detail in these, and I'm very impressed with what I've seen. So we're going to build some up, paint them up as part of the Sisters of the Eternal, or of the Blessed Flame, and see what we come up with. All right. Okay, here's the first of my Sisters of Eternal Mercy. This one being Anthea the Just. As you can see, the figure is very well detailed. Of course, it's also very light because it's a resin. It's actually keyed fairly well. Assembly goes together without too much trouble. I like the fact that the seams were right on joints. Shoulders were keyed so that the arms would get to the right angles. My only complaint was actually the lack of a mounting point for her backpack. So I kind of had to make that up as I went. As you can tell, it's kind of off kilter. That's the only way it actually goes on the figure. The other one here, Nariel Firebrand. Much easier figure to deal with. More dynamically posed. And the backpack went on just fine. I took advantage of the pour spout on her, pour sprue on her foot and used it to glue her into the slot on the stand. Like the other one, it's very well detailed. We'll see how they take paint after I get a few more built. Okay, working from the Exemplar Sisters Command set, we have two more. I'm just kind of making stuff up as I go here. That one was definitely going to be built because she looks kind of like a Sister Superior. And the other one, I just, I put an arm out there and found a bolter that didn't look like it required a hand supporting it. And there we go. These guys are going together pretty well. Just got to be careful. Now, one knock against these guys, since they are resin figures, if I can make this thing focus on the feet. The feet are tiny. You're looking maybe 1/8 of an inch of contact with the base, hence the super glue and accelerator showing there. All right, we have here, I have completed construction on 3, what Raging Heroes refers to as Knights of the Chalice. Again, from the Sisters of Eternal Mercy line. those of you familiar with Games Workshop stuff will undoubtedly see the same parallel I do here. These ladies are not small, and best description I've got for them is this is what you would get if you put Sisters of Battle in Terminator armor. All right, now what we have are 3 of the Icariots, which I'm sure is a play on Icarus. This one is done up kind of like a living saint, which is why I gave her the feathered wings that I had picked up rather than the normal wing jetpack. This one is actually sitting a little lower, but that's because with the way the trail of her skirt was sitting, she was actually leaning all the way back over here and would fall over backwards. So I cut that short and got it into position. And then this one, let me move her up so you can see her a little better. She's a little more dynamically posed. I love the detail on these figures. My one complaint is some of the connection points are a little tiny, but that's mostly because I tend to have fairly large hands. But, you know, these are really well detailed, and I like the end result. So, next stop for these ladies is to join their sisters and find some paint. Well, find some primer and then find some paint. All right, just finished primering these little ladies up. Did something I haven't done in a long time. These little ladies, the primer coat is airbrushed using Vallejo's dark gray primer. My son asked me what the difference between this and rattle can was, and I pointed out that I can get a much finer coat and obscure a lot less detail that way. And it's nice to know, at least so far anyway, doesn't look like I've lost my touch. Next stop, gold. Okay, as you can see, the gold coat is now down. I'm actually very happy with how this is turning out. This little lady got a penny stuck under her base to keep her from falling over, because of how far back she's leaning. But all in all, that Vallejo brass going through the airbrush turned out really well. About time for detail paint. Okay, it may not look like much, but I went in after after letting the brass coat from last night sit overnight and dry brushed all these ladies with Vallejo's gold to help bring out the detail and to bring out the highlights. And then it'll be time to start adding some more color to them here. With this little lady, I did one additional dry brush of white over the wings to make them stand out even more. All in all, I'm liking how these are turning out. Okay, gone in and finished the detail painting on the Sisters of Eternal Mercy, which is the actual line of figures from Raging Heroes that I'm using to at least experiment with the color scheme I'm planning on using for my own Sisters of Battle Order of the Eternal, or of the Blessed Flame. But enough rambling here. Let's take a look at what we've got. I'll apologize for shaky cam, but these little ladies, the largest base here is, I think, 30 millimeters. All right, after the brass was done and the gold dry brush, I went in and did the red, just using Tamiya transparent red. The guns were all picked out in Citadel's lead belcher, as were some of the other metallic details. The flesh was done in varying shades from both Games Workshop and Vallejo. As you can see, there's a lot of detail on these figures that came out really well in the painting. I apologize for blocking the light to some of this. One of the bigger challenges for me, you can't really see him on her because her eyes are clearly intended to just be white. I didn't do the eyes on most of the hooded figures because it's just too difficult to get at them. But as you can see on a couple of these, I went in with the finest tip brush I've got and gave most of these ladies green eyes. Hairs were done in varying shades. A couple of them white, a couple of them blonde. And of course, the lovely lady with the wings back there is a redhead, but the details on these will probably show up better in the stills when I put them up, because I was able to get just a fraction closer. But all in all, with the noted exception of balance on a couple of these because the bases are just too frickin' small, ideally these should all be on about 25 millimeter bases minimum, and a couple of them are more like 20 millimeter. But I will stop rambling here, put some stills at the end. There will be a lot of those. I've got at least 2 pics of each one of these ladies. And I will thank you all for watching.